Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of Cedarfield. Thank you for joining our live chat here on February 19th at 3 o'clock. Those of you that are here in the community, we really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to listen to what probably will be less than a 15-minute live chat. Those of you that are taking your time out of your Friday evening to listen to this information, we appreciate that as well. Today, it's quite simply yours truly here, talking a little bit about our current situation at Cedarfield, a little bit about the vaccine distribution, our evolving preparedness plan, and then fourth, just want to touch on a memo that was published yesterday from our Chief Executive Officer, Chris Henderson. So our current COVID-19 situation here at Cedarfield is as follows. Those of you that really just wish to get the summary, I'm going to expand a little bit of our dashboard as I did. I condensed everything on Wednesday. There's many families that have a loved one in memory support, assisted living, and healthcare, and they really do appreciate hearing those particular neighborhoods called during this live chat to make sure that everything is okay within their neighborhood. So I'm going to start up in the healthcare area. Our north neighborhood the dashboard is green as of this Friday afternoon. The central household is also green up on the health center area for residents and team members. And the central neighborhood in the health care area for residents and team members is also green. In assisted living, the third floor here in the main building, that dashboard is also green for residents and team members. In our memory support neighborhood, that dashboard is also green for residents and team members. And here in the main building, for residents and team members across any department, that dashboard is green. And in the cottages, our dashboard is also green for residents and or team members who work in and around the cottages. That's our Cedarfield update with our dashboard. A little bit about the vaccine distribution. Many people are very interested in the percentage of people who have received either the first dose or second dose. And with 2 clinics to go, I can tell you that 98% of the residents across this entire community have been vaccinated. There has been 72% of the team members that have been vaccinated. So when you calculate both of those numbers together, we sit at a 91% vaccination rate, which is just great. I would give people a word of caution when I share that news with you, that the CDC or the Virginia Department of Health are not issuing any guidance with herd immunity and issuing percentages of people vaccinated, and therefore suggesting that we can move at a quicker speed of folding back in COVID-19 restrictions. But we are at that percentage. It's a great percentage. Hopefully gives people a layer of comfort and confidence as we move into the springtime. We do have, mentioned this a couple times this week, we have 2 more clinics coming up, one next week on February 25th, and then the last clinic here at Cedarfield will be on March 5th. Both of these clinics are providing the second dose for folks that have that did receive their first-time recipients of COVID-19 back in February 4th and February 12th, respectively. So we have about 80 people about 80 people that will be cycling through these last 2 clinics. So that percentage participation rate that I just shared also includes these folks that are about to go through these last 2 clinics. In terms of our evolving preparedness plan, hopefully everyone has had a chance to retrieve in your mailbox, if you live in a cottage, if you live in assisted living, memory support, healthcare, your mailbox right outside of your door, and or if you live here in the main building in independent living, we provided this memo about visitation in your cubby box. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to review this change in our visitation starting next week. We have heard from probably 27, 28 different residents throughout the day about the content in this memo. Mainly people are relieved, especially that Saturday and Sunday, all day long, folks could come and visit you. One point of clarity, we're not restricting visitation to just a family member. If you have a friend that wants to come visit, please invite a friend to come within this time frame. So Thursday and Friday is 5 to 8. Saturday and Sunday is all day long. Throughout the day, please invite people accordingly. The one question that we have received, I think 6 or 7 comments about in terms of thinking the next step in this visitation policy has to do with the number of people who are authorized to visit Cedarfield. Right now, in this particular memo, we talk about 2 visitors per resident at any time. And so we're going to keep that in place here for 2 weeks or so, and then revisit that here in the beginning of March and maybe expand it if all goes well in these next 2 weeks. Really important piece to this visitation policy, the visitors do have a main responsibility when they get to the when they get to the gatehouse. They will go through a screening process, and the security officer will hand that the visitor, a piece of paper, who in turn will give that screening checklist to the resident, and then that last step of the resident needing to give that screening instrument to the front desk is a really important piece of us understanding and being able to contact trace any issues that happen. So if there's any visitors that are watching tonight, or even really the residents that are listening, please, it is the, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 5th bullet point down on the memo. That is just a really critical step that we have told the Virginia Department of Health that we would be re-implementing, so that, again, if there's any issues throughout the next couple of weeks, that we're better able to contact trace the event. If anybody has any questions in independent living, or thinks of a natural next step to fold into this policy in the next couple of weeks, please feel free to call the administration suite. You can email us, and we will consider everything that comes our way the next couple of days. On the back side of this memo, it talks about healthcare visitation. We are also opening visitation in healthcare, assisted living, and memory support. For those family members that are out there listening tonight, if you wish to visit your loved one in each of these areas, please contact your neighborhood leader, and that neighborhood leader will schedule you accordingly within a visitation vista that we have set up in each of those levels of care. We are not allowing visitors just to walk around in the common space areas in our licensed areas. We're going to layer that back in throughout the spring if all goes well. So this first step is to invite visitors in healthcare, assisted living, and memory care to certain designated areas called visitation vistas, and those are scheduled with the neighborhood leader. There is one thing that the Virginia Department of Health epidemiologists did really want me to stress in the middle of all this vaccine distribution, that obviously we're all reading about the effective rate of the Pfizer vaccine being 90% plus effective in those research studies. And you could and you should feel more confident that you will not get COVID-19, which is all great news. We are all protected. However, the epidemiologists, even Dr. Fauci, on a interview last night, I heard him state the following, that they are strongly recommending not to abandon public health preventative measures, which we have in our Cedar Field shared values, for the simple fact as follows. For the general population, the effective rate of that Pfizer vaccine might be 90% plus for you, for me, for Renee, for Eddie, and everyone else that lives and works here. But we don't know necessarily for sure 100% that effective rate actually applies to me, to you. It was a general study of 30,000 people, and everyone's body is different. And so because everyone may have a different effective rate given the vaccine that you just received, it's just the unknown right now is causing management and Virginia Department of Health and the CDC to kind of put a pause on guidance and just keep living up the Cedar Field shared values, or the public health preventative measures, wearing masks and washing hands, staying 6 feet apart to help protect ourselves that much further. So we're going to concentrate on visitation here in the next 2 weeks. We're going to concentrate on folding back in dining services, especially in a communal way, having the restaurants open up, the Prima, Cedar Grill, and Pub 2300, opening the dining rooms in healthcare, memory support, and assisted living. And then hopefully in the beginning of March, depending upon how some recruitment goes in dining services, as David was talking about on Wednesday, talk about the Atrium Cafe as well and folding that back into the plan. So speaking of the plan, for those of you that have been with Cedar Field for the better part of this last year, Renee and much of the leadership team and some residents periodically worked on an overall plan, a preparedness plan, and the different services and amenities of Cedar Field, and where each of those services and amenities kind of fit in with all of the COVID-19 restrictions. So it's a 10-page document, 11-page document. Last time we issued this was before Thanksgiving, and it talks everything about from the cedar chest to bridge plane to visitation, trying to really encompass all the questions that would come up around all of the services and amenities. So we're going to try to publish this document the middle of next week to keep everybody on the same page about where we're at and what we can do, what we shouldn't do in each of the locations of Cedar Field. So look forward to this document coming out at some point in the middle of next week. Again, hopefully this visitation memo was good news for people, especially allowing visitors to come on Saturday and Sunday throughout the entire day. I just had an opportunity to talk to Ann Hopper and Connie McGowan, our infection control nurse. Obviously, Ann Hopper, our wellness clinic nurse. We are still on task to schedule out testing clinics each Wednesday throughout the month of March. And again, the middle of next week, anticipate a flyer about the schedule for those tests. Looks like we're going to do something in alphabetical order. So maybe the first Wednesday in March, it'll be any resident and team member that has a last name that begins with A through maybe D. And then we'll work through the alphabet throughout the month on those Wednesdays. So to give you some level of what their ideas of how they're planning to facilitate those clinics in March. Again, just another push. Those of you that are listening out there that have a car and or do not drive the car, but it's parked out front, a really big piece to this visitation policy is having room for visitors, a place to park, and yet keeping parking along the main building really reserved for residents only. And so if any resident that's listening has a car parked out front here, I would just please urge you over this next week to start getting in the habit of parking that car in and around D-Wing. Or if you live at some other entrance on the main building, even Parkview entrance. Again, they're on any given midnight over the last couple of weeks, there are 37 parking spaces available in and around the main building. We would really appreciate your cooperation. Okay, last thing for me has one more thing to do about this memo that was authored by Chris Henderson, and we placed this in the cubby boxes and mailboxes yesterday. There have been, I think, 34 questions that came into the administration suite over the last 24 hours about this memo. I am just so excited about this venture. First of all, to cross organizational lines with a company who has a very similar mission statement, organizational values, and a commitment to serve people 65 years of age and better. Could not think of a better partner than LifeSpire, otherwise known as one of the closest campus many of you know is Lakewood. They have a couple of communities around the Commonwealth. The two organizations just fit perfectly. Again, as Chris stated in this memo, this is not the beginning of a merger. This is really a very exciting joint venture opportunity. We're going to come together, again, two organizations across organizational line and form this organization called Affirmation Home Health. And for me, being in the industry here for 23 years, one of the things I constantly thinking about is continuity of care and how the end healthcare professional is able to serve a resident, but then just link those conversations and the services back to the overall umbrella of what's available to a resident. And so to have this joint venture in its infancy stages is just music to my ears. Of course, residents have options. So a big piece to this joint venture is earning the residents' trust that Affirmation Home Health is a provider of choice for you. So there's a lot of trust building that has to go along with beginning to introduce this company to Cedarfield and Lakewood and Hermitage. But essentially, what a home health company is 3 different business lines, and it's the 3 as follows. 1, the license of a home health company allows us to provide home care services. And those are services of typically of a caregiver that comes into a resident's home and provides services, what we call as activities of daily living, and helping a resident for as little as 15 minutes all the way through 24 hours a day. The second business line is something called home health, which is a Part A reimbursable service through Medicare. and it's therapists that come into, nurses that would come into your home to help with a variety of situations. And then the last component is, which we will roll out further into the future, is a hospice program. Again, utilizing your Medicare Part A benefit and providing hospice services here at Cedar Field. So to have this as another part of the umbrella of Pinnacle Living is just really exciting for me, to provide you another option, but yet the continuity of care is under one umbrella. We will roll out a communication plan. William, who is the Chief Executive Officer of this joint venture, this new company, we will publish a communication plan here shortly in the next week or two, and William will begin to, again, earn your trust and do a lot more education about what home care, home health, and hospice under this umbrella means for the residents and the team members of Cedar Field. So please be patient. We will definitely provide a lot of education and communication around this organization in the next couple of weeks. I think that is all for me. Do we have any frequently asked questions? The big machine in the swimming pool area. What is that big machine doing there? That machine, that lift, there is a lift in the pool area, and that lift is there for two reasons. There is a couple of items in the pool area that the general contractor has not yet resolved. Warranty items, I call them. One is the wooden beams that go across the pool. There's two particular beams there that the stain of the wood stain of those beams don't match, and they are trying to rectify that situation. And then additionally, in the skylights of the pool, there's some drywall right below the skylights, and they have to fix some of the drywall from the east side all the way through the west, really through the main part of the whole pool area. They did attempt to fix some of that this week and were unsuccessful, and so they're regrouping next week to come up with a plan to fix that warranty item. Second question is, if residents are vaccinated, why would you have a COVID test clinics? Really, quite simply, the reason we're having testing clinics is because if you are vaccinated, it does not mean that you are not a carrier of COVID-19. And so that being vaccinated means that your immune system is able to protect you and keep you safe from COVID-19. However, every one of us that has received the vaccine, we can still be a carrier of COVID-19. And so we want to give people a chance to understand throughout the month of March if they are a carrier, and maybe that test will pop up positive, and then the resident or team member whose test unfortunately may come back positive, but they're feeling great, no signs and symptoms, maybe they would take a little extra precaution in protecting themselves and the people around them because they know they're positive. So that's the reason for the clinics in March. Any other questions? No, that's it. Okay, looks like we're having another ice storm tonight, believe it or not. One final one, maybe two next week, I think I heard. So just know that Jack Johnson, our maintenance department, and the entire maintenance team, along with our James River partners, have been discussing the event tonight. Seems like event tonight will be the last one all the way through the weekend. Please be careful as you're walking around the community outside. It's supposed to be very cold the teens tonight and Saturday night. And so as the snow obviously is melting around the community, there might be some spots where the runoff will freeze, and folks that are spreading salt may miss a couple of spots. So please just slow and steady as we go as we're walking outside. Otherwise, know that management is here throughout the weekend. There's a few of us that are on schedule, taking different shifts. If anybody has any questions about this live chat, please feel free to call down to the administration suites, and or you can contact any of the department leaders and they can answer any and all of your questions. Hope you all have a great Friday night. I hope you have a warm, restful weekend, and we'll talk with you next week. We'll have a live chat on Monday at 3 o'clock. Until then, we'll talk with you soon. Have a great weekend.